Blood hit the linoleum and I tasted metal. 3 days after emergency surgery, still stitched up, still grieving a 14-week miscarriage, my stepbrother Ethan stood over me like I was nothing. He waved legal papers in my face and said, "Sign, or you're out of Dad's house tonight." A nurse called 911. Patients backed away. And Ethan smiled, because he thought pain made me controllable. He was wrong. I'm Megan Parker, 32. 2 weeks ago, I had a future. A baby, a home, a father who protected me. Now I'm choosing between my dad's legacy and my safety. Am I in the wrong? If this were you, would you stay silent or plot revenge? Comment and subscribe to hear what I did next. 3 days after my dad's funeral, I was still moving like my body didn't belong to me. I'd just lost my baby at 14 weeks. The kind of loss that doesn't just break your heart, it rewires your brain. 1 minute you're planning names, the next you're staring at hospital ceiling tiles while a doctor says, "We have to do an emergency D&C, you're bleeding too much." So when I went back to my dad's house to recover, I wasn't thinking about money. I was thinking, please just let me sleep without waking up empty. Then Ethan and my stepmom, Lydia, rolled up with a moving truck. No knock. Ethan used his key like he owned the place, and Lydia followed with that plastic sympathy people wear when they're already counting the furniture. "Oh, honey," she cooed. "We heard about the baby. Such a tragedy." But her eyes were scanning the living room like a buyer. Ethan slapped a stack of papers on the kitchen counter, my dad's counter, the one where he made Sunday pancakes. "Sign these," he said. "Dad left everything to me and Mom. You get 10 grand if you sign today. Tomorrow it's 5. I honestly thought he was bluffing. My dad, Richard Parker, raised me alone after my mom died. He built Parker Builders from nothing. After his first heart scare, he talked about his will all the time. Split things fairly, protect the employee's pension, make sure I'm safe. This is ridiculous. I said, "Show me his real will." Ethan's face turned that ugly purple I remembered from childhood, the look that said, "I don't argue, I punish." "You were too busy with your pregnancy drama," he snapped, "to notice Dad wrote you off." Pregnancy drama. I told him I needed time. A lawyer. He gave me 24 hours like he was doing me a favor. The next day, I went to my follow-up appointment. I was still stitched, still sore, still trying to breathe through pain. I walked into the waiting room, and there was Ethan, sitting like he'd paid the copay. "Time's up," he announced, loud enough for strangers to hear. "Sign, or you're out today." I said, "No." His hand flashed across my face. The sound was sharp, unreal. I hit the floor and tasted blood. He leaned down, voice low, cruel. "Choose how you pay, or get out." A nurse called 911. Patients backed away. Ethan tried his "I'm just upset" routine, but it's hard to explain a woman bleeding on linoleum with a handprint on her cheek. They arrested him. Lydia bailed him out fast. That evening, my friend Ruth, 73, retired forensic accountant, sharp as a blade, drove me back to my dad's house because my hands wouldn't stop shaking. The locks were changed. My stuff was on the lawn, photo albums soaked by sprinklers, clothes smeared with mud, and my mother's jewelry box, my dad's gift to her, was smashed open, pearls scattered across the driveway like someone tossed my memories onto concrete. Ruth picked up one pearl and said, "Sweetheart, this isn't just greed, this is a threat." The next-door neighbor, Mrs. Caldwell, shuffled over like she was afraid the walls had ears. "Donna," she whispered, "your dad borrowed my phone the week before he passed. Said he didn't trust his own. Said someone was listening." That night, Ruth's garage got spray painted. "Stop digging." And that's when it clicked. They weren't negotiating. They were trying to erase me. If you were me, fresh out of surgery, grieving, locked out, what would you do next? Would you fold? Or start hunting receipts? After Mrs. Caldwell's warning, I couldn't stop replaying my dad's last weeks. He'd been jumpy, paranoid. Once he asked me, "Do you ever feel like someone's reading your messages?" I blamed medication. Now I blamed people. Ruth opened her laptop like she was setting up a crime scene. "I did the books for your daddy's company," she said. And he never changed a password in his life. 10 minutes later, we were inside Parker Builder's accounting system. False invoices, shell vendors, ghost employees, transfers that matched job payouts almost perfectly. Ruth zoomed in, calm as a surgeon. "Same routing numbers," she murmured. "Different names. That's deliberate." "How much did he take?" I asked. Ruth's jaw tightened. "Nearly $500,000 in the last year, and it's been going on for 5. Then she pointed at a timeline chart. "It ramps up 6 months ago, right when your dad's heart started getting worse." That word, worse, pulled a memory out of me. My dad in the hospital, squeezing my hand through morphine fog. "Basement safe," he'd rasped. "Behind the water heater. Your mom's birthday." 2 nights later, we slipped through an old basement window my dad never fixed. The air smelled like sawdust and his cologne, and grief hit me so hard, I had to bite my cheek to stay quiet. Behind the water heater was a hidden panel. Mom's birthday opened the safe on the first try. Inside, a notarized will dated a month ago, my dad's real will. A forensic audit folder labeled Ethan, and a letter. "If you're reading this," Dad wrote, "then my suspicions were right. I've been feeling worse since Ethan started helping with my meds. He monitors my calls. Trust Ruth. Trust Harold Bennett." My hands shook so badly the paper rattled. My dad knew. He was gathering proof while he was dying. Ruth dug deeper and found an old file. Obituaries, marriage records. Lydia's first husband, heart failure. Second, kidney failure. Third, stroke. All within a few years. All wealthy. Ruth whispered, "This woman doesn't grieve, she cashes out." Upstairs, Ethan's computer was still logged in. The emails were shameless. Old man took his pills like clockwork. Double dose in his coffee. Transfer another $50K before the audit. And the one that froze my blood. "If Megan won't sign, we'll handle her." The next morning, we brought everything to Harold Bennett, my dad's attorney. Harold read the letter, went pale, then slammed his desk. "Your father came to me scared," he said. "I told him to document. I should have pushed harder." He called Detective Sofia Alvarez, who'd already been tracking Lydia after multiple suspicious deaths across states. "People call this family drama," Alvarez said. "It's violence with paperwork." Warrants followed. Bank records, phone records, Dad's medication bottles. The lab confirmed it. His pills carried triple the prescribed dose of a heart drug. Slow enough to look natural, fast enough to kill. Alvarez looked at me. "We can arrest them now, but I want everyone involved. Supplier, fake notary, all of it." That's when I said the sentence that scared me most. "I'll call Ethan," I told them. "I'll tell him I'm ready to sign." Ruth squeezed my fingers. "Honey, promise me you'll let the cops do the risky part." Alvarez outfitted me with a wire and planted agents at Dad's office for the signing. All I had to do was keep Ethan talking long enough to hang himself with his own ego. "If you're still here, hit like," because the next part made me physically shake. I nodded. But inside I was thinking, if he wanted me to choose how I pay, I was about to make him pay with the truth. Calling Ethan felt like swallowing broken glass. I had to sound defeated. "You win," I whispered. "I'll sign. I want my mom's jewelry back." I heard his grin through the phone. "Finally, smart choice." Then I dangled bait. Dad mentioned an old safety deposit box, something in my mom's name. Maybe $100,000. Greed lit him up instantly. "Where?" "First National," I said, acting foggy. "Mom's birthday might be the key." That afternoon, Ethan showed up with his girlfriend Kayla, filming herself in my hallway like my pain was content. While she chirped about yachts, Ethan tore through my dad's office and grabbed my arm hard enough to bruise. "Where is it?" he hissed. "I don't know," I said softly. "Dad was on meds. He just kept saying First National and Mom's birthday." He believed me because he wanted to. Detective Sofia Alvarez used that window to set the trap. I'd meet Ethan at my dad's office to sign, wearing a wire. Agents would be nearby. All I had to do was keep him talking. The next morning, walking into Richard Parker's office felt like stepping into a ghost. Ethan was already in my dad's chair, feet up like he owned the air. "Let's do this," he said, sliding papers toward me. A sweaty notary, Darren Cole, hovered behind him. I picked up a pen, then paused. What exactly am I giving up? Ethan rolled his eyes. Everything. Estate, company, all claims. You get 20 grand and you disappear. And the employees? I asked. Dad promised them a pension. Ethan shrugged. Not my problem. I'm selling the company tomorrow. Kendall Industries offered $3 million. Good enough. Admission, clear, recorded. Then Lydia walked in with a bottle of champagne, smiling like she wasn't standing on a crime scene. For after, she said, eyes cold. How's the healing, dear? Stress causes complications. Something in me snapped, quietly. How long have you two been planning this? Lydia laughed. Planning what? We're honoring Richard's wishes. I looked at Ethan. Like the email where you wrote, old man took his pills like clockwork, double dose in his coffee. Silence. Kayla stopped recording. Darren's eyes darted to the door. Ethan's face went purple. You hacked my email. No, I said. You left your computer logged in when you threw me out. That's not hacking. That's stupidity. Lydia's smile finally slipped. You can't prove anything. Actually, I said, voice shaking but steady. The pills tested positive. The real will is already with our attorney. And Darren can explain why he's notarizing a signature he didn't witness. Darren took a step back. Ethan lunged at me because that's who he is when he doesn't get his way. And that's when the door swung open. Detective Alvarez walked in with federal agents. Ethan Parker, Lydia Parker, you're under arrest. Ethan tried to bolt. He made it 3 feet before an agent tackled him into my dad's fern, sending dirt across the carpet. Kayla screamed. Darren tried the window and got stuck halfway out. Ethan spit soil and yelled, "This is entrapment!" Alvarez didn't blink. No, this is you choosing to confess. And that arrest was only the beginning. Over the next weeks, Alvarez's team pulled bank records, phone logs, and the lab report showing Dad's meds were tripled. Every new document felt like another punch. Because it confirmed my father didn't fade. He was pushed. If you're still here, share this because people like Ethan count on silence. And tell me in the comments, would you have worn that wire and DP or walked away and let them win? 6 months later, I stood at my dad's grave with a hard hat in my hands and a lump in my throat. Parker Builders was still standing. The employee's pension was restored. And the people who thought they could beat me with paperwork and fists were finally facing real consequences. I won't pretend justice fixed everything. I still miss my dad in weird moments, like when I smell his cologne in a hardware store aisle. And I still grieve the baby I never got to hold. But I learned something brutal. Some families don't love you. They leverage you. They wait for you to be at your weakest, then they try to rewrite your life. So here's my question. Am I in the wrong? Was it wrong to wear that wire, to bait Ethan, to chase revenge when everyone told me to keep the peace? Or was it the only way to protect my dad's legacy and myself? If you've ever been betrayed by someone who shared your last name, drop your story in the comments. Hit like if you want more real talk stories like this, and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Silence helps abusers. Your voice doesn't. Not today, ever.